Okay, so I know many people are fans of this channel, and there are many people that ultimately hate this channel. But one time, my babysitter hated this channel, and let's just say she ended up deleting it. This story does go really insane, but before we get into that, make sure you guys slap that like button, and also make sure to subscribe, because when you do, I am able to tell more crazy stories just like this one. And other than that, let's just jump straight into today's crazy story. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to a really embarrassing video. So today's story all takes place back when I was in grade 9. Now, if you guys don't know, I've been making videos for a very long time. I think this channel was made around 2015, so I've been making videos since like 14 years old. And I remember when I was 14, one of my dreams was becoming a content creator. So I remember there would be days where I would just be at home and recording my gameplay and doing Call of Duty cut commentary and basically just talking about life and school and basically all the things I hated about it. There are many videos privated on this channel about that, but obviously I'm not going to show them because I do end up saying names of people. And I'm not going to lie, one of the reasons why I did it was because, well, I don't know, I guess talking smack on the internet was really common. So that's kind of what I would do over the internet when I did Call of Duty cut comms back then. And me, like I said earlier, I was only like 14 years old. So me, I would always like, you know, go to my friends and stuff, and they all knew that I was a YouTuber, or trying to be a YouTuber at least, and that it was my dream. But obviously, once I told my friends, other people in my high school started hearing that I was a YouTuber. And there was one girl that I used to talk smack about on my channel that, let's just say, ended up hating my YouTube videos. She hated that I was a YouTuber or trying to be a YouTuber. And every time I talked about YouTube with my friends, she would always jump into the conversation saying, Bubba, you don't know anything about YouTube. YouTube's a place of being friendly and awesome and kind to each other. Honestly, I would hate to know what she thinks about the channel now, but going on with the story. And she kept basically telling me how I need to be more motivative than, you know, destructive on the YouTube channel. And me, I ended up laughing at her, saying that, you know, internet hate will always be a thing and it will always, you know, get worse and worse. And she just kept being in denial about it. And I remember me and her, let's just say we never ended up getting along. But what ends up happening next in the story made me end up getting stuck with her to the point where it sucked. Because I remember that same day when I went home from school, I ended up walking up to my parents and I saw that they were packing. I wasn't sure why they were packing, but apparently there was an emergency that they had to deal with and had to go stay with a relative of mine. I remember I looked at both of them and said, wait, so do you guys want me to come? They both said no, and that they, you know, they didn't want me to, like, you know, get in the way of anything. So they ended up telling me how they were going to hire me a babysitter. Now, like I said, I've had many babysitters, and some of them were good moments and some of them, well, they just weren't it. And I remember the same day I ended up going in my room. It was a Friday. I was playing Call of Duty. I was doing my own thing, and I ended up hearing a knock on the door. My parents go and answer it, and I heard the most irritating sound that I hated with a passion. And it was the girl that hated my YouTube channel in high school. I remember she ends up coming into my house, and basically she claims that she was a babysitter and wanted to know who she was babysitting. And when my parents said my name, I remember I ended up coming down the stairs, and she looked at me with her eyes wide open and started laughing, saying, I know Bubba, he goes to my school, we're in the same class. Oh my goodness, you need a babysitter? I remember at that moment I was so embarrassed. I'm like, listen, like, all you gotta do is just watch over me. It's nothing crazy. It's like us hanging out basically. And she ended up laughing and texting her friends about this, and honestly, it was just really weird. And as my parents left, I'm not gonna lie to you, things just kept getting worse and worse because I was basically stuck in the house with a hater of my YouTube channel. I didn't know what to do, and I was kind of just like looking around thinking, okay, you know what? I'm just gonna stay in my room. She's gonna watch the TV downstairs in the living room, and neither of us will bother each other. At least that's what I thought. Because I remember when I went upstairs and started playing games, and I remember when I was in my room the whole time, I got really bored. So what I would do usually is record a YouTube video. So that's what I did. I was recording a video about how, like, you know, school sucks and how, like, you know, some people suck at my school. Basically ranting, because that was mostly what I recorded back then when I was in high school. And I remember my babysitter ended up walking into the room saying, are you kidding me? You're recording a video? Bubba, you're not a YouTuber. You're just a loser. And basically she ended up grabbing my laptop that I was recording with, and she ended up grabbing it and running downstairs with it. I remember I got super upset and I started chasing her down the stairs, and I basically started chasing her all around my house just to get my laptop that I was recording with. She ended up throwing it on the kitchen table. Luckily, nothing bad happened to it, but still, I was really annoyed because she ruined my entire video. So I ended up taking my laptop upstairs and shutting my door and slamming it. And let's just say what she ended up doing next made me cry into tears, because I remember later on that night, it was super late and I was just, you know, doing my own thing, and I was, you know, getting ready for bed. And as I was laying in bed, I remember I ended up passing out, kind of sleeping, but not fully sleeping. And I ended up hearing someone go into my room, take something and leave. Now, I didn't know who it was, and I was really just like confused. So I ended up basically getting up in the middle of the night, like 20 minutes later, and I started heading downstairs to see what was going on. When I went downstairs to see what was going on, I remember I saw my babysitter with my laptop. I was so confused, and I looked at her saying, yo, what are you doing with my laptop? Like, what? And then she ended up saying, Baba, I just deleted your YouTube channel because let's be real here, you're not meant to be on YouTube. I remember at that moment, I got so angry, and I ended up yelling, are you kidding me? Who do you think you are? And I ended up running up to her, pushing her out of the way, like literally body checking her as if I was playing like football. And I grabbed my laptop, ran upstairs, and I just stayed on that thing, trying to get YouTube support to help me out and basically try to figure out how I can get my channel back. Obviously, at the time, the channel only had like 100 subscribers. It was nothing crazy. It was nothing big. I think only my relatives, my mom, and probably some friends at school only subscribed to the channel. But the channel meant a lot to me. And I knew one day I wanted to be a YouTuber. So I ended up going through my channel. I ended up going through everything I could, going through emails, contacting YouTube support, trying to find any way to get my channel back. Luckily, I ended up finding someone that was able to get the channel revived and get the channel back from being deleted. And when I got it back, I was really happy. You guys have no idea how happy I was. And honestly, if I never did get the channel back, this channel wouldn't exist because it was this exact channel that ended up reviving. Okay, so before anyone said anything, doxing is not a good thing to do. Do not dox people. If it's not on the internet, then don't put it on the internet is basically what I'm saying. Private information is an important thing, and I know people think that I still dox Jelly Bean, but I'm here to say I did not. And here's a story about, actually funny enough, how I got doxed, but not by just anyone, by a literal ooh girl. Yeah, I know, ultimately cringe. But before we do get into the story though, make sure you guys do leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Seriously, it means a lot when you guys do. And on top of that, did I mention that I am currently live on Twitch streaming to you guys right now and telling more of these crazy stories, so make sure you guys do go check that out. Also, on top of that, make sure you guys do follow me on Instagram. I know a lot of you guys don't know this, but I do have an Instagram account. Make sure you guys do follow me at Bubba Streams. I will be reading your guys' comments, and as well as send me a message of your guys' craziest story. Now, other than that, let's get straight into this insane story. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name is Bubba, and welcome back to another crazy story. So this story takes place, funny enough, back when I was in grade 9. So this was my grade 9 year. I was a freshman in high school, and I was just a basic dude. And I remember one thing me and my friends always did was go into Xbox parties and troll around and basically play Black Ops 2 and yell at kids. That was most of the main thing we did. And before anyone says anything, yes, I was a very toxic Call of Duty player. Like, by toxic, I mean toxic. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if people found old clips of me freaking out. Yes, fair warning, I was toxic. Going on though, I remember me being a toxic kid, I would always go into like random lobbies and stuff and just basically yell at people and yell at girls and yell at everyone and basically be that weird angry kid all the time. There's one thing you guys gotta understand, the internet is not what it was back then till now. Like, if you guys really think about it, back then, if you know, were to tell people to do things and scream at them and doing a bunch of toxic stuff, yeah, you'd just be laughing with them. Like, it would just be a joke. But nowadays, it's like serious. I don't know. I grew up in a totally different age. Let's just say it was a different era of the internet, okay? It was before everyone turned soft. So going on, basically what ended up happening was one day, me and the boys were all trolling on Call of Duty, screaming at some kids in a team deathmatch. Yes, in a literal team deathmatch. And then I remember what ended up happening was there was one girl that was in that game, and she was basically yelling back at me, and me and her, we ended up yelling back and forth at each other like crazy. She told me things like, OMG, like, you're literally like the worst gamer ever. Like, literally, like, unplug your console and like go cry to your mom, you little. And yeah, she would swear a lot at me. I'm not gonna swear in this video because I don't like swearing, but you guys know what I mean. Basically, she was being super toxic and I didn't know what to do. But one of the boys ended up saying, yo bro, just invite her to an Xbox party, let's all yell at her at the same time. So that's what we did. We ended up inviting her to our Xbox party, and when she joined, the first thing she ended up saying was ooh, 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 ooh. I don't know, I can't say ooh good, okay? Don't bug me. Like, my Fortnite girlfriend could probably do it better than I can. But going on though, she said ooh ooh, and then she started yelling at us. At that point, me and the boys were all laughing. We were all dying our hearts out. To think that she actually said ooh woo made me cringe and laugh. And as we were laughing, I remember this girl was like, oh my goodness, like, who do you guys think you are? Like, ooh, like, you guys gotta like stop being annoying. Little did we know she ended up having Tourette's, but that's later on in the story. So basically, we kept making fun of her and she kept making fun of us, and one thing led to another. Her boyfriend ended up joining the Xbox party. Yes, her literal boyfriend. And her boyfriend sounded like some 40-year-old dude. Like this girl sounded like she was 12, but this dude, it sounded like he was 45 to like 50, like old enough to be her damn dad. And he's like, oh, you guys better stop making fun of my girl, bro. Like, who do you guys think you are? Like, 1v1 me in Nuketown 2022. Yeah, he literally asked me to 1v1 him. Yeah, I don't know what he was getting at there, but basically me and him, we ended up going into a 1v1 lobby and 1v1ing each other. She was basically cheering him on the whole time, saying, ooh, like you'll win for me, my sugar plum. Ooh. Yeah, okay, listen, I can't make impressions, okay? Don't laugh at me, guys. But still, she was saying all that, and it was ultimately just cringe. I remember I told her to literally go back to the kitchen and cook food. Reminder, don't say this to this day. This is not a good thing to say, and do not, harass people like that, because obviously, like I said earlier, this was a different time and age of the internet, and one thing led to another. She ended up saying a bunch of numbers. She was counting down from 10. She was being all creepy and stuff. And at that point, her boyfriend was all like, oh, she really did it to her now. You're screwed, buddy. I remember I was looking around and I'm like, what? Why is she saying these numbers? And then she literally said my address. She literally said the exact address I live in. I don't know how she ended up doing it. She literally ended up doxing me. And she said it in front of my Xbox party, which is all the guys that are IRL. So they all automatically know where I live. But she literally said my address like perfectly. I ended up telling her, how do you know that? What in the world? That's not my address. Wait, how do you know that though? Where'd you even get that from? And she's all like, oh, like I know a lot more than you think. Ooh. And I was like, okay, this is kind of getting scary. And then she ended up saying my full name, saying, oh, so your name's Arash Baba Moini, aren't you? Okay, this is where things got really scary, because now this girl has my full name and my address. And then she started like, sending me pictures of my family, and she started like messaging like my family members' names to the point where she literally doxed me. She hacked me. She literally found a way to literally hack me and all this crazy stuff. I was freaking out. I was like, okay, that's it. I'm dead. I'm screwed. I don't know what to do. I was panicking. And then I remember my friend was like, bro, just turn off your console. Just turn it off right now. Just be safe. So I remember I ended up flicking my console off, and I turned it off and unplugged it fully. And I'm like, okay, I don't know what to do. I remember I ended up calling one of my friends on my phone. I'm like, yo, bro, like come over. Like, let's figure this out. So he ended up coming over and he's like, dude, like who is this girl anyway? And I said, I don't know. So what we did was we went on the internet and we searched up her gamer tag here and there to figure out who she was. And we found out that it ended up being some random weirdo that lived in Alabama. Like God knows that she was doing the devil's tango with probably her cousin. And her cousin was probably the big scary boyfriend guy that I was talking to earlier. Anyways, we figured that out. And I remember I ended up plugging my Xbox and, basically going back on there. And I'm like, yo, so like, how's Alabama? She ends up going, ooh, like what? Like, why are you talking about Alabama? Like, who do you think you are? And I'm like, oh, I know where you live. I'm not dumb. And after that, she's like, ooh, what in the world? And her boyfriend's like, oh, okay, I know what you did there. You think you're smart, huh? You think you're smart? What's your actual name then? Yeah, I didn't know her actual name. So I made up some random name called Ooh Fanatic or something. I don't know. I made fun of her Ooh voice, okay? And long story short, after 2 minutes of me and her yelling at each other, she ended up literally following me on Instagram. At that point, I was freaking out. I'm like, what? She followed me on Instagram. And when I followed her back, all I saw was photos of her on Instagram being, well, let's just say somewhat attractive. I know that's weird to say, but she was actually somewhat attractive. And then from there, she shot me a message saying, hey, do you want to like maybe like take this to another platform? Whatever that means. And then she sends me some random link. Now, warning, if anyone sends you a link to anything, don't click on it unless you actually know what the link is for. But she sent me a link. I clicked on it. And after 3 minutes of me being on the site that she sent me on, and I don't even remember the site. It was some dumb site, but she sent me some site to go on. And 3 minutes later, my internet went out. My internet went out, and literally like the internet would not turn back on. I had to go almost 3 days without internet to get the service guy to come back and fix my internet. Literally, this girl fried my wire. And yeah, that's basically how an uwu chick doxed me. It was kind of scary and honestly freaks me out, but push goes to shove, just be safe on the internet. Don't do something dumb and don't get hacked, and be careful of who you talk to. And also, don't harass anybody. The internet's not a place to harass people. Bullying is not good. My channel got stolen by one of my friends, and if you guys don't subscribe, your channel will be stolen. Yo, what is going on, you guys? My name's Bubba, and welcome back to a really insane story. This story all starts off 3 years ago, and I am not joking. 3 years ago was when I made this channel become Bubba. This was when Bubba became Bubba, and basically all the insane stories I tell you now on this channel used to be all gone. I remember back 3 years ago when I first started doing YouTube videos and started telling stories. I remember I was pretty out of pocket. There were some stories on this channel where I would end up actually saying full-on names of people, and let's just say it got me into a lot of trouble. I remember 3 years ago, me and my friends, we decided to all go hang out one time and basically go and just have a good time, hang out with the boys, nothing new. We were the same boys since high school, and I'm not gonna lie, even though some of of us didn't grow up. Most of us did. And I remember when me and all the boys were going out, hanging out, doing our own thing, one of my friends ended up walking up to me. He walked up to me and said, "Yo, Bubba, isn't that like one of your homies from back in middle school?" Now, I've told many stories from middle school. And I remember when my friend brought this guy up, I ended up looking at him saying, "Oh yeah, that is the guy from middle school." Now, this guy he ended up pointing out to, actually, I used to talk about a lot on this channel. He was my middle school bully that, let's just say, I never liked. I'm not joking. He actually scarred me for many moments of my middle school life. And I remember when I saw him, instantly, I looked towards his direction. And you know that feeling when you're being watched? Well, he felt that from me, and he ended up looking towards me and saw it was me. Now, this moment, I thought he didn't recognize me. I'm not gonna lie. I had a beard. I looked totally different. I did not look like normal Bubba from back in middle school. But right away, as he looked at me, he looked dead in my eyes. And I am not joking. He knew exactly who I was. At that moment, I was freaking out. I was like, oh, I think he recognized me. Let's go outside. Let's go outside. So me and my friends, we ended up going outside. And I remember he ended up following us outside and walked up to me saying, "Yo, Bubba, is that you?" Now, if you guys don't know, my real name's Arash. So for him to call me Bubba was actually kind of funny because Bubba is like my internet name. It's what you guys call me, and you guys are the Bubba gang. So obviously, like, you know, it was really weird seeing people I knew in real life call me Bubba. But when he called me Bubba, I knew at that moment he definitely knew about my channel, because the only people that would call me Bubba were people that knew I was an internet storytelling Devil's Tango master. So I remember he ended up walking up to me, calling me Bubba, and I said, "Yo, like, what's going on?" And he ended up basically wanting to catch up. He basically was being really nice to me and really kind to me, and me and him, we actually became good friends that night. We ended up all going back into the bar, having a good time, drinking and doing all the good things in life and being good to each other. But I'm not gonna lie to you, at this moment something was up, because all the stories I've told about him were bad stories about how he ruined me. And it was funny because he would bring up the channel, but he would never mention the stories that he was in. And I'm not gonna lie to you, things ended up getting a lot worse, because I remember a couple days went by, and I remember me and him, we would always, like, you know, talk through our phones, and basically we would always end up hanging out more and more. Me and my middle school bully actually ended up becoming good friends, as weird as it was. And I remember as me and him became good friends and we started talking more and stuff, it got really weird because he would never actually end up bringing up the videos where I talked about him, until one day I remember he actually ended up coming over to my place. I invited him over because he wanted to hang out and see how this whole YouTube thing works. So I ended up bringing him over. He looked at my setup and he was actually amazed about how much work I actually put into becoming a creator. And then I remember he ended up sitting at my desk looking at my gaming setup, and me, I looked at him and thinking nothing was gonna happen, I ended up deciding to go to the bathroom. Now, I'm gonna say this right now. If you have a computer or a gaming setup or even your iPhone, never leave it on without a password, because who knows what the person in that room with an open device might do. So I remember as I went to the bathroom, I went to go take a quick waz, and right after my bathroom break, I ended up coming back out and I saw he was on my computer looking at just my YouTube channel. He was scrolling through my videos, and I remember it got to a point where he stopped scrolling and clicked on the video where I ended up making fun of him on. He opened it and he's like, "Oh, this is my favorite story." And he ended up basically watching it with me. And I'm not gonna lie to you, it's weird when I watch my videos with my friends, but watching a video about a person that's in the same room as me that I made was the most awkward thing ever. Because I remember at moments where I would make fun of him, he would look towards me and be like, "Yeah, so this is what you think of me, really? This is exactly what you think of me? You never maybe thought to ask, you know, to post about me?" I ended up looking at him being like, "Yo, like, I never said your name, nothing. Like, I would never say your name. I was being nice." And me being nervous and stuttering and freaking out about this guy basically confronting me about the videos, he ended up saying this: "Bubba, you're gonna regret posting stories about me. I'm gonna say that right now. So just prepare yourself." I remember at that moment, I was pretty weirded out. I'm like, "Yo, was that like a threat? Like, what are you trying to do here?" "No, it's not a threat. Just don't worry about it. Just honestly, keep being you, man. See where it gets you." And he ended up standing up and walking away. Now, that moment, I didn't really know what that meant. He ended up leaving my house in anger. And honestly, I ended up being scared, just sitting in my room thinking, what does that mean? Did he cast a spell on me? Is everything just gonna disappear one day? And let's just say, yeah, everything was gonna disappear. Because I remember the next day when I woke up in the morning and I went on YouTube to search up my channel, I ended up getting a 404 page saying how this channel didn't exist. I was so confused, and I remember I ended up basically reaching out to YouTube support to see what was wrong, to see if I got banned or anything. I didn't know what was going on. I remember at that moment, I ended up basically, you know, tweeting out on Twitter, but by the way, you guys should follow my Twitter because I give out the latest updates on there. And I basically tweeted out saying, yo guys, my channel, I think something happened to it. I'm not sure, but just want to say I'll figure things out soon. And right after, when I sent that tweet, 5 minutes later, I ended up getting a text message from this bully that was from my middle school. He ended up texting me saying, about time something bad happened. And at that moment, I knew instantly when he texted me that he was the reason why all this happened. That time when I left him alone in my computer, he deleted my account. I'm not joking. I was upset. I was so angry and I was so mad to the point where I remember I ended up actually opening another YouTube channel, which is the second channel. And I ended up basically posting on there saying, hey guys, like, sorry, we're going to get things figured out. And me, that whole weekend, I ended up actually contacting YouTube support to figure things out. Luckily, YouTube's actually a great platform and they listen to the creators and they actually help out and make sure things go right. But I am not joking when I say this. The next day afterwards, I ended up realizing that there was a video that I did not upload on that channel. I ended up going onto the channel and seeing what was on there. And I ended up seeing a video of my middle school bully basically posting photos about me from back when I was in middle school. A lot of people in the comments were laughing and stuff because obviously at this time I didn't really show my face a lot on the YouTube channel. So obviously it was a little weird and kind of crazy how he kind of just doxed me in a way and doxed what middle school I went to and everything. And I started panicking. And at the end of the video, I remember I saw he ended up putting a message up saying, from your middle school bully, hope you enjoyed this. And then afterwards he ended up shutting off the camera. I ended up freaking out and I was really upset. At that moment, I knew the first thing I had to do was change all my passwords, become smart with everything, and make sure there was no way for him to ever get in contact with my channel again. And at that moment, I learned as well to never trust anyone from back in high school that you talked bad about. Anyways, follow for more embarrassing stories. Peace out, guys.